What's up? It's me, ADRI.V, the go-getter, and I want to welcome you to the G-Code podcast. You see, this is a place you go to get the pretty, the ugly, and the grind to success. There's always a story to be told, and everything that glitter ain't gold. So understand this, there is no need for the cheat code when you got the G-Code. So get your notebooks and pens ready. It's time for us to get into it. Welcome to the G-Code.
You are now listening to the G-Code with ADRI.V.
Hey, what's up, my go-getters? Welcome to another episode of the G-Code podcast. You know, we're me, ADRI.V, the go-getter, your hostess with the mostest, brainchild of this here thing, brings you the pretty, the ugly, and the grind to success, unlocking the codes, okay, of being a go-getter, going to get it, and just really diving into that journey. But today's episode, I am giving you a recap of REVOLT WORLD 2024. Now, just in my last episode, I talked to you about my journey to getting to REVOLT WORLD last year and how I was even able to join the REVOLT Podcast Network due to me pitching my podcast at REVOLT WORLD last year. And this year was like a full circle moment, baby. Even my preparation of coming to it was difficult because I had to choose between going to my cousin's La Angela's wedding and going to the REVOLT WORLD. And, you know, I am so grateful for my buzzo, my cousin buzzo, La Angela, now Baldwin. And because she is not just a cousin, she is a sister. And she was my first sibling growing up because, I mean, my mom and her mom are sisters, and they are super close. Was because my mom is not here anymore. But shout out to my Auntie Dina. And so super close. And so we grew up more like siblings than cousins. And she is my older cousin, my big cousin, whom I adore and I look up to. And she's just fearless in all her ways. She would just get up and just make things happen. And you know, I want to dedicate this episode to her because I remember telling her about this opportunity, and any opportunity I ever had, my cousin is like the biggest cheerleader. She gonna support me. If I need help to pull up, she will. I remember covering the BET Hip Hop Awards in Atlanta. She was living in Atlanta and I did not have a cameraman. She's like, cousin, show me what to do and I'll do it. And when I tell you, my cousin was getting all the shots, zooming in, pulling out. She was the best camera girl I ever had. Okay, she was better than some of the fellas because she was making sure I was straight, getting all the pictures and the captures, and even following the people after the interview was over. Like, my cousin was on it. And I remember when I had to tell her that I couldn't make it to the wedding because REVOLT WORLD was happening, and she said, look, cousin, I know you gotta go and work. This is a great opportunity, once in a lifetime opportunity, and you just got on, so you need to be present. You need to be there. Trust me, I understand, because if it wasn't my wedding, I would be right there with you. And I love my cousin for that because I was so sad. I was down and I felt torn and trying to figure out what to do. And when she just happened to call me randomly, she gave me such a relief and such a peace to go and be great. And, you know, I'm just so proud of her. So again, congratulations to my cousin La Angela. Now Mrs. Baldwin. Shout out to Gaddafi. Shout out to them on their marriage, their nuptials. She looked beautiful. She looked amazing. And I was happy to live through my family photos and pictures. And shout out to my Auntie Dina and Uncle Kenny for creating such a phenomenal, beautiful woman who is just an overall dope person. So, Cuzzo, this one is a big shout out to you. And so, yes, after having speak with my cousin, I was able to just breathe a little bit and feel less sad and burdened to be able to just go to the REVOLT WORLD free and take in all the information, experience all the things, capture some great content, and really just taking the moment. And so why I share that about my cousin is because sometimes when we're embarking on a journey of chasing our dreams, fulfilling our dreams, and trying to make things happen for ourselves, you're going to encounter those emotional moments and those decisions and those crossroads when you have to make a decision. And what I love is having people in your corner who understands you and who understands the decisions that you have to make in order to achieve the goals you're trying to achieve. And I'm forever grateful for my community that respects and understands what I'm trying to do. So let's just talk about your girl have a problem. Am I the only one who, when you have a early flight out, like a 6 o'clock flight, and you trying to be at the airport by like 4-5, I'm in the city of Buffalo, so we can literally pull up and just get right on the plane. Sometimes, because sometimes there is a line and sometimes there are not. Sorry, I'm drinking my tea. And so I often do not go to sleep. I just stay up. I'm gonna sleep on a plane, then I'll take a little cat nap when I get there. And that's what I did, because I was just like anxious like a kid and returning and going back. And so stayed up all day, completely tired. And plus I didn't pack. I have a horrible time at deciding to pack an hour or two before I gotta be at the airport. The ghetto. I need to grow up. That is not good G code to success. And so pretty much get to Atlanta, geeked up. First of all, Atlanta, y'all need to woe down. Okay, woe down, not slow down. It's like woe and slow at the same time. On these fees for Uber. Why is it so expensive? I was probably dropping like $120 a day just to Uber around. And I'm like, girl, you could have got you a rental car, and this could have been a cheaper situation. But nonetheless, get to the hotel, amazing hotel. Shout out to my stay at the Marriott, beautiful view. And then you kind of just prepare for the day. So let's get into day one of Revolt World. Now, what I love most about the good people over at Revolt World, shout out to my guy Cam, who is a Buffalonian, all around creator, dope builder, who is a part of the Revolt World team and putting that thing all together. And I just can't say it enough. Seeing him move around, hearing his name called, and from the time he created Henny Palooza, from the time he was here in Buffalo, he was just the creator of things. And proud to say, I know this man and he is from the town. And so they have this app, okay? Now, if you are not familiar with the Revolt World, baby, you need to make sure you're present, okay? Because every year it gets greater and greater. And although there were some experiences of difficulty this year, I salute the team for, just buckling down, focusing in, and getting it done, and still delivering a stellar product. And that is what they did. So when you tap into that app, baby, you're going to get a world of everything, even messages and back to back, giving you some heads up, updates. Listen, whoever put this together, top tier, top notch. All right. So let's get right into the day. So we kicked off Friday with, of course, the world stage with the DJ killing it. Now, when you walk onto this campus, huge campus, one of Tyler Perry's old studios, baby, it is amazing. You're greeted at the gate. You get your wristband, scan your on in. Depending on your tickets you got, you will be able to get food voucher, drink voucher, one of them. All right. So lucky for me, I had my press pass, had family and friends, and VIP. Shout out to my boy. Okay. Shout out to my boy Lau. And so you pull up, and they got the golf carts taking you to the bottom of the next phase. And what I mean by that is there's a road that got to take you to where all the happenings is happening. And if you are not in shape, you're going to be tired by the time you get to the top of that hill. And if you are in shape, but you don't got the right outfits on, you're going to be a hot, sweaty mess, because Atlanta definitely gives it up. All right, so lucky for me, I had my VIP in the press, and so I was able to get on a good go-kart, and they take you on to the campus as you are passing by the big Revolt World words and water, where you got the Revolt bubble, buoy, sign, whatever that is, just floating. And I love the good aesthetics. All right, now you're coming up on the to the main area where everything is happening. You get to that big stage, you just hear all the music, giving you all the vibes. Shout out, of course, to DJ Tory Briggs for just giving us what we need, kicking off day one. Tapped into the cooking show with Ari Fletcher, with Lil Duval, and all I got to say is, it's just a time when these folks are just freely saying what they want to say and definitely keeping us going. Then we got into trap karaoke. Everybody loves karaoke, but when we tapping into the trap, I mean, we're in the trap town, Atlanta, okay? So you know we was getting all the good Atlanta vibes. And then we had the American Sesh. Now, if you know anything about that, it's one of the newest shows where Pinky Cole brings in, of course, rising entrepreneurs and her celebrity friends, and they talk about ideation. It's the ideation room, and she kicked off a tour when it came to the American Sesh. And so this was moderated with Pinky Cole featuring Derek Hayes. I mean, why wouldn't she do it this way? And if you don't know who Pinky Cole is, baby, you need to look her up. She is the owner, creator, operator of course, Slutty Vegan. She's been doing her thing when it comes to just branding and kicking butt and kicking it off in a way it has grown in such an amazing way. She's just really taken off, and to have her right there was amazing. Now, after that and during that, you had a chance to hear from Gia Peppers and Dr. Shanda. Now, she is the culture psychologist and a fellow Revolt Podcast, a network podcaster. My girl definitely was dropping gems and definitely giving us what we need to hear of how to take care of our mind and our body, just being Black. Okay, that is super important. Now, what I love is that Revolt holds nothing back when it comes to showing love to women, baby, because we are the future. And you got a chance to see that right there on the stage with Lady London performing. Shout out to my girl. She just kills it every time. Bia, Flo Milli, and Coyle Ray closed it out. When I say closed it out, she closed it out and killed the stage per usual. Her energy is unmatched. But you want to know who killed the stage? We got to talk about Drink Champs. Drink Champs Live was everything. And normally when it comes to Drink Champs, it is Nori who is the drink champ and the one that gets drunk. But this time it was DJ EFM. My man was so toasty. I was nervous to hear what he was about to say. But they had a phenomenal guest. And a phenomenal guest is none other than Fine, Method Man, actor, producer, musician, executive, an entrepreneur. Like, Method Man was keeping it such a buck. And when Mr. Davis, as you know, we know him as Davis on Star's hit show Power Book 2 with Ghost. All I got to say is I could listen to Method Man talk all day long. You know, they got into the conversation about Wu-Tang Clan. They got into the avenue of being able to, you know, talk about what is next for Method Man, and then just how he even came to being who he is and where he is. Talked about his name, okay, and how he has another name. And that in itself was a funny conversation. Shout out to DJ EFN, because that man was so goddamn on toasty and they kept taking more shots. I said, yo, at this point, y'all gotta stop. You have to be stopped. But that closed out the night, and it was a great kickoff to day 2. And I really went home, well, not home, but back to my hotel, and I rested up because the next day was going to be a full day of being right there on the campus. So day 2 kicks off, again, another DJ. And you get a chance to kind of identify where you want to be because so many things are happening. So I made my schedule and I kicked off my day making sure I went to the sound bath meditation. Yes, your girl loves to meditate, and it was brought to you by True Voice. And it was a great relaxing time when we put our headphones on, got a chance to just hear the chimes, hear the tunes, the relaxation voice, giving us the cues to breathe in, breathe out, and just allow yourself to be there. Then I went to a guided meditation and listened to another True Voice sound, and baby, that was one of the highlights to kick off my day. And the whole I will say, theme of that was called Flourish First. And I really resonated with that because so many times, especially when it comes for Black women, we are constantly trying to help everybody, do everything for everybody, be there for everybody, and not giving ourselves the service first. And oftentimes we forget what they say on the airplane. As many times as we drive it, I say, well, yeah, we'll not drive it, but as many times as we get on these things and we fly in, they tell us so simple. It's a simple concept on an airplane. Please put your mask on first. Do not help anyone else. Because, baby, if you do not put yours on, how can you be assistance to anybody else? You ain't gonna be able to breathe. You're gonna be gasping. And that right there really resonated with me, especially with this being the first thing I did on that Saturday, was to center myself, focus myself, identify the things that I wanted to do, the goals I wanted to achieve for the day, to bring in the energy, to bring in all the opportunity, and really just meditate on what I'm here for, to clear my mind and to go in looking to have fun, to connect and to build. And the whole concept of Flourish First was right on point. So big shout out to the wellness area. Shout out to Revolt for theming this as an important piece to be added. And shout out to True Voice for just spearheading that whole section. And I got a chance to connect with a dope wellness woman. And her Instagram, I believe, is Living Well with L. And she was making some really dope watermelon juice. Okay, this juice was so good. And Miss L, I got to get with you so I could go ahead and get me some more of that watermelon juice. Now, right after that, I skimmed right through the block where I got a chance to hear DJ Era and just DJing. And baby, we got the line dancing. He probably hit every line dance there was, and we were out there line dancing. But I had to beeline and get to the executive chat, of course, with Joshua J1. This man dropped a lot of gems. If you don't know who he is, he currently is working with Pandora as well as Sirius XM. He's the VP of music programming. And I mean, he talked about his journey of really moving into said direction. And what I do appreciate is people willing to come and drop gems. That is one of the things I love most about Revolt, is that you have a direct opportunity to connect with the people who are doing the things behind the scenes and in front of the scenes while you are there. Because once they're done speaking, oftentimes they are standing around and waiting to have a conversation with you. Not always, but for a majority of the time they are. And for that, you know, I'm super grateful and looking forward to seeing how more of these sessions will be able to help amplify others' opportunities and voices, because these sessions absolutely helped me. Now, of course, right after that, you tap into what I love is the Opportunity Center. I love that they call it that, because there is where you have like a mini career fair. People there offering opportunity. There are people there who have businesses. They're looking for people to work. Revolt was on hand looking for people to come there and apply and work. And it was just so many dope things. But another dope thing in there is the office hours, where you get a chance to identify people that you want to sit and meet with and also get a headshot. Yes, I do not play about updating the headshots and making sure they are on point. And this time I went there and I got my headshots again, and baby, I love them. So if you want to see what my headshots look like, you can make your way to ADRI.V, the Go-Getter, on all social platforms, and that headshot is absolutely there. Shout out to the photographer. Absolutely stunning. Love what he was doing. Now, after you get them headshots, baby, I was sitting there waiting for my office hours, okay? I do not play about my office hours. So, Adri, what is office hours? So, office hours is a thing that they have at Revolt World, where they have a lineup of individuals, okay? And you can schedule a one-on-one 10-minute time with industry executives in your area of interest. This right here is uncomparable. Last year, I sat with several different people. Somebody was one of my sorority sisters. This year, I sat with more women and a man, and one of them, of course, was my sorority sister. And I just want to say a shout out to Revolt World for creating and curating such a thing. It is important because you get one-on-one time. You get a chance to connect with these people. So I want to say thank you to Miss Lyrica. She is the founder and CEO of Lyrica Eyes Management. Sat with her, pick her brain, gave me details, gave me guidance, and I got a new big sister in my head, okay? I want to send another big shout out, of course, to Miss Corvea Jeffrey. She's the manager of marketing and audience development at Revolt TV, and she is my soror. And what I love is that we had a chance to connect about our transition in the industry, the changes in the industry, and both coming from intern to trusted pro. So got a chance to relate, and iron sharpens iron. You can never be too high up, too low, and too big of a position with too much going on to not get with like minds and to decide to sharpen yourself. I also want to send a big shout out, of course, to Dr. Garrick. He is a licensed clinical psychologist and co-founder of Psych Me Out. And I really appreciate this conversation because as someone who loves education and I'm looking to further my education, and my mother was a nurse and she always talked about wishing I would have became a doctor. My mother she was supportive of me and what I did, but she wanted me to be like in a field where it was like guarantee money. I would have a lot of stability. I wouldn't be running around trying to be a creative or whatever, but she respect what I did, always honored it, but always would talk about me being a doctor. And so is my goddad, who she worked for, Dr. Chia. And he would say that too. And so I always knew I wanted to further my education. Because once upon a time, we weren't allowed to have an education. So I want to max it out. And I want to get my PhD, and I struggle trying to identify when to get my PhD in. And as I went through my own mental health issue and crisis and dealing with depression and not realizing how depressed I was, so I went to meet with one of my counselors and therapists, and she said, "You're clinically depressed. I can give you some pills or we can try another route." And I refused to take any of those pills. And they work for other people. Salute to you if that is the thing you wanted to do. But I just did not want to be depending on something to regulate me. I wanted to be self-aware. I wanted to be conscious of my emotions, conscious of my feelings, conscious of how I'm up and I'm down so that I can make the necessary adjustments. And that is when I dived into my health and wealth and focusing in on those things and really deciding to regulate and to control what depression looked like for me and how I handled life's ups and downs. And so after going through that for myself, I realized that as African Americans, we don't deal with our mental health in the same capacity as our counterparts and how we should in a healthy way, talking about our issues, knowing that it's okay to go find someone to talk about our issues, and really identifying with the place that I'm dealing with trauma. Growing up in the hood, baby, I done seen some things. Ooh, child, one day I'm going to talk about them all. And you don't realize how these things will harden you or how these things will shift and change your perspective of life and how you handle life, and how you not dealing with it could be an issue somewhere else. And so after going through my own mental health crisis, I'll say that, and dealing with that and having to bring myself back to a place of wholeness, I realized that being a psychologist is something I want to pursue. And so having a chance to sit with Dr. Garrick and another Black man and Black person who happens to be in this field really gave me the solace in what I will be pursuing and how to be able to pursue it. And so salute to him for sitting down and giving me the gems and connecting with me from that standpoint. And so make sure you guys go out and go follow Psych Me Out and tap in with a mental health counselor and therapist, because you never know how the issues and things you've encountered could be and have changed you. So I just want to say big salute to Revolt for bringing that together. Now on here, you would mess around and find out that these people were filled up, and I'll be honest, they were all filled up. But I walked up to that table like, yo, I know somebody missed a slot. I know somebody got some open slots. Please put me down on the list because I need to speak with the following people. But then I also had a chance to speak with Kiedra Tyson, who is a public relations star, publicist for 14 plus years. And we got a chance to connect on a few things of how I can angle, getting guests for the podcast and just so many things. So for me, one of my biggest highlights of attending Revolt World will always be office hours, because I am getting one-on-one opportunities to build relationships with key people in the industry and to do things with them. And so you building friends, sharpening yourself, and getting connected. And for me, that is always great. So your girl was in that opportunity center, and plus the AC was the best in there. The AC was the best in there. But yeah, baby, that is where I was for a majority of the time, connecting and building with these people. And speaking of connecting and building, while you're walking around, you're also running into people, and people may be inquiring about you. So the benefit of being fly, or the benefit of having on things that look good, helps, because folks will say, hey, I like your hat, or hey, I like your jersey. And then conversations kick off, and then you don't even know who you're talking to. And the next thing you know, you're talking to the VP of something. And then connections are happening. So big shout out to my boy, Lindsay Taylor, AKA Lau, been my dog since college, and really developed our relationship even afterwards. And he is like a brother, and he was out there, and we both were just killing it, tag teaming, connecting, building. And this is why it's important to have people around you who are like minds, because iron sharpens iron. All right. Certainly dragged his butt in there to make sure he got his headshots. Now, speaking of more of the actual Revolt World, after coming up out of that opportunity center, because baby, I can literally live in there, I had to make sure I took my talents to go and see and hear the speakers. All right, more speakers. And so when it comes to being in the industry, I really feel that hearing from individuals will sharpen you. And there were a lot of great things that were happening there. And what I love is that they incorporated gaming, and gaming is a whole new area that is a part of entertainment. And I knew gaming was taking a whole new turn when my old college decided to make gaming a major and made a complete gaming center at the college, at the institution. And so there were workshops and sessions on women of the intersection of music, anime, and gaming. That was super dope. I really loved the content to cash flow masterclass. That one was another one. And then if you needed a little bit of a break in between, you could make your way back over to the wellness area and get a soulful sun bath midday. That was dope. But another one that I pulled up to and was absolutely excited about was the conversation between Cam Newton, and it was for the Black print. And this one was great because Cam Newton addressed, of course, his viral moments with the good doc, and talked about how, you know, that moment helped strengthen him and helped sharpen him. And he even talked about the confidence he had to have being in the industry of football and pursuing his dreams and not seeing people, you know, come out of his area to make it, and looking up to Mike Vick. And, you know, like me, these people become your mentors in your head and a guide. And, you know, he talked and he opened up about having to go against the odds. And sometimes, you know, it is necessary to hear these conversations. So big shout out to Cam Newton for pulling up and really talking about being different in that particular space, and really giving and talking from another perspective that I never looked at him from. Now, another one I had to pull up and could not miss was the Black Women Talk Tech, the Adversity to Action with DEI panel. And that panel was, of course, hosted by Regina Gwen, and Andrew McCaskill was a part of the panel, and also Arian Simone. Now, Arian Simone is my girl. She is a founder of the Fearless Fund, and if you had a chance to learn anything about her most recent circumstance, is that the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit has blocked the Black-owned venture capitalist fund from awarding grants exclusively to Black women entrepreneurs. All right, the judges ruled that the Fearless Fund Fearless Strivers grant contest is substantially likely to violate. They said the provision of the Title 42 of the U.S. Code, which ensures equal rights under the law and prohibits the use of race when awarding and enforcing contracts. Now, the whole aspect behind this is wild. And the fact that she had to endure this really just pissed me off so much. But the anti-affirmative action legal strategist Edward Bloom was behind this, who filed the lawsuit last August against the fund on behalf of his group, American Alliance for Equal Rights. And this is how it all kicked off, because they're saying from the legal act of racial discrimination that this is an issue. So do a little bit of research, dive into the Fearless Fund, and you can see like how now today there was a dismissal of the case, and that she has now pivoted her program and organization for even a better way and opportunity. But she dropped so many gems. Of course, she talked about voting. She talked about positioning yourself and understanding your rights. She talked about really ensuring that you are equipping yourself in these particular days, and just really empowering you to understand what diversity, equity, and inclusion is, and how now in so many areas they are trying to do away with DEI. Arian Simone as well as Andrew dropped so many gems and gave us so many things to take into consideration, and I was just so happy to reconnect with her because I interviewed her for my podcast in 2015. She was one of the very first to say, yes, I'll do it. So big salute to Arian Simone, always coming in so gracious, so demure, so cutesy, and just dropping all the words and all the gems. I had just saw her at the Congressional Black Caucus, and she shared then and shared again now. Now, speaking of sharing, I enjoyed hearing, of course, from Pusha T as they talked about just building a lifestyle brand. He was on a Build a Lifestyle Brand masterclass and really gave us an insight on how he had to maneuver with building his brand. He talked about having to beg people, to get his clothes in their store, or even to get a chance to wear these designer clothes, and showing up to events and paying his own money and making the necessary investments. So it was a dope conversation with Pusha T, and it was great to see him in that element, and just opening up. So big salute to Revolt for bringing that one on. But again, closing out the night, got a chance to see the performances of Rob 49, 42 Doug, Cash Cobain, Key Glock, and Offset. Being from Atlanta brought it all the way down. All right. Crazy performance, absolutely stellar event. And that was just day one. Day one was absolutely a long day, but overall an amazing day. Now, show back up on that day 3, baby, Sunday, and you were welcome with Sunday service. Yes, indeed. Right there, loud and proud, getting that good gospel on, some good little bit of preaching, and I felt like I was right there in church. All right. So not only did I get a chance to tap in with a good Sunday service, but I put on over to the Grow, Scale, and Elevate Black Entrepreneurs pitch competition, and that was amazing sight to see, where you had a multitude of different businesses pitching and walking home with a check or two. So big salute to Revolt again for seeing this as something that should be happening, and baby, I really appreciated that. Absolutely. Now, as we continue on, there was a conversation, well, somewhat of a debate with Gary Chambers and Byron Donalds, and we got to talk politics as usual. Listen, hip hop, athletics, and politics. Why not? And so that conversation got heated, and it was a necessary conversation. I love the fact that this was absolutely a part of what we had going on. Now, in addition to what we had going on, I had to pull up to the Future of Podcasting competition, where it was absolutely different from my pitch competition. Shout out to all the podcasters that was sitting there and being able to be a part of the voting and picking. But I really enjoyed this flow of where they had the folks sit down, either reenact their podcast, talk about the concept of their podcast, and share it. And so was happy to see a group that I know, Infinite Vibes, get out there and show up and do their thing. So big salute to the folks of the Revolt Podcast Network for putting that together. Now, Parking Lot Pimpin' Special, baby. I enjoyed this one because we had Rep Jasmine Crockett come in and talk about the work that she's doing, but also the work behind the scenes of how her life is being threatened in so many different avenues. And sometimes you never really know what people are dealing with and having to deal with when it comes to politics as usual, but I was happy to see her open up, and it was a dope conversation, and I am so delighted to see Black women being able to be Black women in office and all of our greatness and how we show up using our lingo, our conversation and culture. Now, I had to step in and go to the new era of entertainment conversation and hear from Cameron. And Cam dropped a lot of gems, as he talked about deciding to build his own entertainment avenue, how he wanted to do a show, and he just decided to invest in it himself. And this is what him and Mace have been doing. It is what it is. And I love it. I love what he's doing, and it really was a breath of fresh air to talk about if things are not going for you, you can create your own. So big salute to Cam for coming in, dropping them gems, and leaving us with what we needed. But speaking of leaving us with what we needed, I closed out my day at the Revolt World with, of course, Caresha Please and her conversation with Boosie. Now, we all know Boosie. Boosie definitely keeps it raw, shares his input. And when it got to the smoke question, she was asking this man, like, why you always in gay people business? And Boosie answer, I respect it. It may not be for everybody, but that's his input. That's his state. She also talked about why the heck did you take your daughter's car? He gave his input on that. Talked about, him and his baby mamas. Listen, he gave his input on that, and I can't knock a man who keep it a bean, keep it a buck. It just shares what he needs to share when it comes to him. Now, after that, Caresha Please, I had to jet up out of there because getting to the Atlanta airport is no joke. I don't play with Atlanta when it comes to that airport. I do not play when it comes to that goddamn on traffic. So right after Caresha Please, I had to call and end my weekend on day 3. I'm wrapping up a little bit early, but baby, that was a fun-filled weekend, a weekend full of information, full of connecting, full of getting content, full of taking it all in, feeling motivated. And it's necessary for you to be in the atmosphere of people doing the things that you're doing because iron sharpens iron, but you can also be inspired. You can also be shown what you can be doing, what you could be doing more of. And also that probably what you're doing is also working. Just keep working it. So I will say, although I kicked off going into this entire weekend a little bit worried, and shout out to my cousin again for giving me the release I needed to show up and show out. Overall, attending the Revolt World, having my full circle moment of realizing the opportunity to be on a Revolt podcast network started with me attending this place, started with me submitting my application and pitching my podcast, and not winning first place, but being able to still take home first place winnings. And I want to send a shout out, of course, to the first place winner from last year. Shout out to my girl. She's still doing amazing, still doing her podcast. And what I love is that still we are here giving our all and doing our thing. And baby, for that, I am grateful because no one has to give you an opportunity. And when you get one, I'm just not trying to waste it. And that right there is a true G code. And speaking of my G codes, I will say a few G codes that I take away from this weekend are, let me go into my note because I was definitely taking notes from this weekend. And let's see. My girl, Miss Lyrica, I love her. And we talked about being a woman in the industry. And she said, as a woman, you need to be able to show up with all of you. And one thing she said, show up looking fly. And that is something that will get the people going. They were going to be like, yo, who is that girl? Who is that? She look good. She look like this. Tapping with that. So lean in on your flyness. Cameron also said, believe in what you got, know your market, and market everything you do. That right there, that was good. That was good. Who else? Who else dropped another gem? Because I gotta look at all my notes. All right, because I was in here tapping in, trying to make sure I got them all. Another thing, Cam said. He mentioned that you just gotta have it. Like everybody ain't got it, but if you got it, you gotta work it. And I said, wow, that right there is it. And also making sure you have that confidence. Confidence is everything. And Confidence will get you in the door. Confidence will keep you in the door. And some of that will absolutely direct you to where you need to be. So big shout out to Revolt World for putting on such an amazing event. Shout out to Revolt Podcast Network for inviting your girl and allowing me to be present. And overall, it was an amazing event. And again, your girl is just grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be in the number. And as I'm on this journey, I'm taking each and every one of my go-getters with me, because when I go to these things, I'm coming back and I'm sharing you what I learned. And I'm sharing with the fact that you need to be at Revolt World come next year. All right. Well, listen, this is the episode for today. Make sure you stay tapped in. And of course, this episode is brought to you by what? The Go Getter Lifestyle, baby. Tap in at thegogetterlifestyle.com. All powered by the good people that are everyday go-getters. I'm just saying. Well, listen, I love you so much for listening. And as always, welcome to the G Code. Thank you for listening to the G Code podcast. Don't forget to check us out weekly on all podcast streaming platforms. Want to connect with me? Listen, it's just so simple. Tap in with me on all social platforms at ADRI.V the Go Getter. A to the D, R to the I-V, THEGOGETTA. For questions, comments, concerns, tap in with me via email. Go to ADRI.V at ADRIVtheGoGetter.com. Or you can text me at 214-70-ADRI-V, 214-70-ADRI-V. And until next time, you know what it is. I love you so much for listening. And always remember, there is no need for the cheat code when you got the G Code.
I was born in the G Code embedded in my blood. Matter of fact, you just triggered a level orange G Code security threat.
And that's the G Code, G Code, G Code.